Hey, welcome back. Those of you that have been attending on, we appreciate that. We have a lot of people subscribed every month that keep coming back and listening to us for this hour. And we appreciate you coming back as we start the summer edition. Before we get too far into it, I want to just recognize Memorial Day, which just passed. Hopefully everyone enjoyed a extended weekend, got some time off to relax, recuperate, and maybe have some fun with some family, et cetera. But we also want to make sure we thank and acknowledge the service of all our military members, past and present, and we appreciate that so much. So Happy Memorial Day, a little bit belated. And again, we appreciate your service. If you're currently serving and you're listening, thank you so much.
And we also want to call out and appreciate everybody's commitment to diversity and celebration of Pride Month. As we go into the summer, throughout the world, we're celebrating Pride, and we all on this panel personally take a lot of pride in what Pride represents, and openness and acceptance of all people. So let's celebrate, and let's encourage others to be accepting and welcoming.
I also want to call out this highly obnoxious poster behind me. I got the keynote at Workout Anytime's conference. It was a lot of fun, and they had a James Bond theme, so I thought I would really be obnoxious today. Actually, what I want to call out.
Whoa, today?
That Project 435 that we talked about, 435 congressional districts in the US, trying to get somebody to represent fitness in each of those districts, is now Team 435. And the Health and Fitness Alliance will be sending out, the National Health and Fitness Alliance will be sending out sort of the first work products of that, I believe, in the next week or two. So I'm really glad that this thing is taking hold, and that the work National Health Fitness Alliance and IHRSA has done to get this thing going. If we'd have had it in place, we'd have got relief. So we'll work it from here.
Yeah, and thanks for all you're doing to help continue moving that along, as well as all the members of the NHFA. They're doing a great job with it for sure. All right, so here's our lineup for today, there for everyone to see. We've got some, I think, some good topics and some interesting ones. Hopefully all of you will enjoy the update and get some ideas as well, some information from our time together today. And Sara, I think you're going to talk about the old annual review process, something everybody loves, right?
Absolutely. I really like that video. I want to thank Robin Manis from my staff who put that together for me. The Harvard Business Review, actually, the Harvard Business Review Press published the book in 2022, The Love Plus Work. And I really liked it because I think we're dealing with this great resignation. We need to hire more people. We want to retain our current staff. And we need to work hard to do it. It's not just about throwing more money, throwing more vacation time at people. It's making people feel valued and part of a community, part of your staff, part of your company. And I really like this because if you limit the contact you have with your staff to once a year, you're just like throwing out what's going on. and it doesn't even reflect the whole year. It reflects probably what they did that past month. And I don't know if this happens to you guys as CEOs, but people start acting really good about 3 weeks before their reviews. You know, they start answering their emails quicker, they start responding to your phone calls. And what I like about shifting from an annual review to a weekly review is that we get to just listen. What do you like about your job? What do you loathe about your job? How can we put them on the right seat on the bus? And I also want to think about, it's more like life coaching. We keep talking month after month. It kind of eases into our conversations about that life coaching is so important. And I think this is just an element. It's just
you know, Sarah, there was some, I think in the Wall Street Journal article also, they were talking about the study they did that said just how many billions of dollars they believe are wasted on annual reviews. And the suggestion, it's actually something that I think Apple Retail has done brilliantly for a long time with all their frontline workers. You get a goal, you have a goal, and then weekly they check in to see how you're doing on that. And then the manager is there to coach you on certain skills to get to your goal. But the manager is ultimately held responsible for your goal. So when I was at Medallia, we got to do some work with Apple on this, and we hired a few people from Apple into Medallia, and they were explaining this process to us. There's a little startup company in Silicon Valley called Blueprint, and it was built because of this. It was built because of this, and we got contacted by them, started using them before the pandemic, and with the app, and we send out a little check-in, and then we were doing once a month, our GM would meet with each person with just sort of a, how are you doing? How can I help? And she said it was probably the most powerful change in how she manages the club that she'd ever done. And so it's funny because when you got this topic, went right back to Katie and just said, hey, we got to get normalized here and get back to doing some of this because it helped us so much.
Yeah.
Well,
A great number of the Fortune 100 and even the Fortune 500 companies have moved away, at least in part, from the annual review, just like the video said. You know, the employees don't really look forward to it at all. Certainly, the managers don't look forward to it at all. Neither side thinks it's very effective. And so these check-ins and doing away with sort of this grading scale, old school annual reviews really been a trend for a while. Sorry, Bill, go ahead.
No, I was just go ahead, Sarah.
Sorry, it's actually, when I was reading the book, it's 63 to about 80% of all organizations are still doing this annual review. You'd think they would change.
Yeah, when I grew up trying to learn about this stuff, my mentor used to tell me, you know, if you got any surprises during an annual review, somebody screwed up. Let me clean up my language here. Somebody screwed up, right? So there should be no surprises. At Active, we separated out performance reviews from compensation reviews, made them two separate things. And that sets an expectation that performance isn't necessarily going to be a conversation just about compensation. And but I agree. And Brent knows about this. I've shared with Brent many times. We talked about strategy. I believe in a 30, 60, 90-day action plan where it's rolling constantly and your supervisors are working with you on that 30, 60, 90. So you're continuously moving the ball down the field, and you've got a record of the goals in the whole year. At the end of the year, you've got the whole year mapped already. Right. And so the review is simply reviewing the year and saying, you know, well done, we made it here, we didn't make it here, but, you know, no surprises, we've got it mapped out. So I'm a big believer in a 30, 60-day template, and I will share my template with the audience if they want to text us. Or chat box us, I'll make sure I get that out to the audience.
And it's really nice that in these reviews, we're listening to our staff, and that makes our company better because they tell us the changes they think should be made. And granted, you know, some of it just isn't going to work for financial reasons or whatever, but you can hear a lot, you can learn a lot on how you can improve your technology and how you can improve your customer relations.
Absolutely.
Bill, a lot of requests for that 30, 60, 90. So
yeah, we'll capture those, and I'll either email them out or one of our team members will email them out from IHRSA. But I'll make sure I follow up with that. Maybe I even have it in the chat box by the end of the session.
Okay, thanks, Bill.
All right, now we're going to talk a little about. I believe it's me, right, Brent?
Yep.
what the fitness industry doesn't understand, and we have a few slides to share on that. So I think we'll bring the slides up, and we'll talk a little bit about. This is an article in the Atlantic. This is to me, a must read for anybody in the industry, regardless of role, responsibility. This is a great article. My team shared it with me. My COO, Michelle Wong, shared it with me, and Blair shared it with our group as well. So Blair and I were fighting over who was going to get to cover this one on the front end. Blair's going to have a lot to share here, but this thing highlights beginner level exercise as a niche. Okay. And it goes back to, it really highlights this guy, Hampton Lou, who's in his backyard in Arkansas, doing basic exercise classes for adults at a very beginner level. And he's got millions and millions and millions of followers on TikTok, YouTube, as well as Facebook. And so he goes to the basics, basic functional push-ups, pull-ups, how to do a bench press, even if you're just laying on your back on the ground, bench press in the air, but he takes it to a very beginner level. And he hits an audience that won't go into gyms, won't go into health clubs, won't go into fitness centers. And it goes back to the 1960s and some of what the Atlantic article covers with regard to America was afraid of losing ground physically in a fitness capacity conditioning of our citizens and soldiers to Russia during the Cold War. So we developed this presidential fitness test, and you had to get weighed. And if you didn't have the right weight for your height, you were going to fail the test regardless of your performance. You had to do pull-ups, push-ups, and running. And we put millions of kids through this from 6 years old and up, and let their friends and their peers sit there and watch them while they were attempting to do pull-ups. And so you had anxiety, you had humiliation, you had pain, and the test was twice a year, and the schools didn't have any requirement to prepare the kids for the test. So none of the PE corresponded to even doing the test. So we taught a whole generation or two generations that exercise is painful, it's humiliating. And not only that, it's hard to get, it could be a punishment, was the other point they made, that it could be also viewed as a punishment. You did something wrong, do 20 push-ups. So, and then we had a few breakouts. The YMCA's did a good job with people that couldn't afford fitness and bringing fitness to inner cities and the Boys and Girls Clubs. And then it talks about the great work that Richard Simmons did in making fitness accessible for people that were more on the overweight side. But basically how we approached fitness in a completely wrong way through the school system, because we developed a system that was based on the government's thought process versus the individual's needs. And I just think it's a valuable article for all of us to read, to understand the anxiety, the preconditioning that's gone into a generation of people based on the perception of exercise. Blair, I'm gonna kick it to you next, because I know you had some thoughts here strong.
Yeah, so it's funny, Mo Hagan is just saying how she hated the Canadian fitness testing, that it was okay with her, but she kind of remembers her friends that would be humiliated, and some would just stay home. I remember this, right? I remember friends wanting to stay home, and they couldn't be there during the days of the presidential physical fitness test. A couple points. This guy, he makes it a point to wear jeans and a t-shirt when he's doing this. He doesn't wear workout gear. Some of the moves are so ridiculously simple. They are designed to get the absolute least fit person to just start to move. And one of what the title, what the gym industry doesn't understand, is that we really, a beginner to the fitness industry has traditionally been a young, healthy person interested in exercise that doesn't know how to do it, right? We haven't really adapted to what this Lou is doing with his social media campaign and just the number of people that he's attracting. There's a lesson in there. Like, there's a lesson in there for us.
Yeah, and the other thing is, if you go to a fitness center and you go to a beginning class, unfortunately what happens is you get a new instructor teaching the beginners, as instead of an experienced instructor that can try to ease people in and really be sensitive to their posture, their body alignment, and their ability. So it's almost like a punishment to get shoved as a personal trainer or a group fitness instructor into the beginning program, because it's the elite programs, the HIT programs, that the more advanced instructors want to teach. And you have to understand, it is so much harder and requires so much more education to lead a beginner.
That reminds me of a time our Rex Roundtable went to a dude ranch in Colorado, and we're all going to ride horses. And the guy said, he said, "Is there anybody here that's never ridden a horse before?" And I forget who it was. I think it was Faith Pula. So no, it wasn't Faith, but it was Florence raised her hand and said, "I've never ridden a horse before." And I said, "Great, I'm going to put you on him because he's never had a person on him before."
A good match, good match. Well, I think, Bill, to your point about the school system, and somehow we've raised a few generations of people where exercise is viewed as a chore instead of a gift, as Michelle Seeger would say, right? People just view it, like you said, as punishment or something they should do, but they don't really want to do. And developing these sort of entry-level classes where people can be successful just moving, as Blair said, I think is a great lesson for everybody, for sure.
Probably a lot of people with PTSD from their tests and grades.
Yeah. One last point, though, the article also mentioned, I don't remember the test exactly on how it was scored, but that if you were overweight and you outperformed the others in the activities, the pull-ups, the push-ups, even the run, you still would fail the test because your weight would knock you out. And so we started this thing about weight being the albeit critical factor on fitness, and created this obsession with thinness and skinniness rather than somebody's physical health and condition and cardiovascular condition. And so again, shifting that perception from weight to health is critical, and that article kind of resonates with this obsession with weight loss that sometimes is on the lines of unhealthy.
Yeah. All right, Sara, you're back up with Unretiring.
Unretiring. Oh, I love this one because we're all looking for great staff. So of course I got a video. Really like this one. And I liked it because, I don't know about you guys, but people are looking for staff to hire. And this actually came to me. I went to a high school reunion, and at that point, this was pre-pandemic. I was thinking, well, how am I going to, I'm 6 years old and I got to think about selling my business and how am I going to keep it going? And I've got all these people that rely on me. And I was talking to two of my very good friends from high school. Both of them owned their own business and had sold them. And one of them said to me, "There is not enough golf in the world." And the other one said, "I am beginning to hate paddle." And they were bored to tears. And how many times do we hear people like Jeff Dyer, who just, comes right back and opens another business because we're too young to retire. We're living longer, and we can employ these people. And at first I thought maybe we should gradually pull them back into our industries to get them involved with us, working our front desk, taking people on tours, using them as salespeople to really target maybe an older demographic to pull into the facilities. And I looked on Indeed, there was a great article and it talked about unretiring, and it really focused on the 10 unretiring jobs. First one was driver, second was caregiver, third was retail salesperson, fourth was culinary, then fifth was an administrative assistant, sixth was a tour guide, and seventh was childcare worker. All these are jobs we can use in our facilities. And I think it was you, Blair, that said, who's to say if these people aren't so bored that they come in with a stronger commitment to perform?
Yeah, don't you? I'll bet there's a lot of people that had very high responsibility jobs. Maybe they had a lot of people reporting to them, a lot of stress. Pandemic hits, maybe they retire, and wouldn't it just be like entertainment to come back and work a front desk? Maybe, I mean, or I think a lot of people want to do some of these. That list that you just read, I think maybe points to that. I don't need a bunch of responsibility. I just need to make maybe under $15,000 over here, so my Social Security is still okay, right? Yeah. And I just need to get out of the house and do some interest. I need to feel like I have a sense of purpose and I'm making a contribution to something. I think there's something there. Boy, I'd like to hire more from that group.
Well, even pre-pandemic, we did hire several retirees back. And to Blair's point, yeah, they only wanted to work just a certain number of hours to keep their income below that threshold. But they enjoyed it. They were way overqualified, but they just enjoyed the camaraderie, the community, getting with the staff and the members. And I noticed in your video, they talked about gas prices. I filled up my Ford Raptor yesterday, $175.
Oh my God.
One
That's
tank
okay.
of gas.
That's okay. At least you get 4 miles to the gallon.
Yeah.
And
So I'm going to have to go back to work for sure.
And I also like Sal Pellegrino said, the reference to the intern.
Yeah.
What a great movie. What a great movie. There are 11.5 million job openings and 5.6 million more vacancies than there are available workers for.
And I think there's some chat here that's pointing out some beliefs that we have about this that I certainly have. Corporation has a better work ethic was one of the things said here, right? I played 28 retirees. They love the social life of the front desk and pocket money for annual vacations. Very reliable. That's the other point, right? There seems to be a level of reliability there. And plus some of them might be, former military.
Yeah.
And that's never
Look at Brent Darden.
Yep.
Poor guy
Yep.
gets sucked out of retirement and thrown into the proverbial fire.
Yeah.
How'd
There's
you
an
do
opportunity
that,
here.
Brent?
What's that?
How'd you do that?
I didn't have a choice. My friends made me do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
right.
Unlock the secrets of workout habits. There was an interesting article, I think it was on CNBC, and they're talking about some work that was recently published in Nature magazine. So we'll put that link in here. But this is, so Bill covered off on the real beginner part of this, right? What this study did is it took 60,000 gym goers, as they referred to them, 60,000 gym goers, 30 scientists, 15 US universities over 9 months. And the objective was to get them to go to the gym frequently. Okay, well, it worked. But some of the stuff that we do for our group fitness and for personal training, perhaps we should be deploying for regular workouts. What worked the best was put it on the schedule, get a text reminder that you're supposed to go work out in an hour or 2 hours, or they didn't actually say, how far in advance. And then they gave them a small reward for accomplishing the workout, a small financial reward. But get this, it was 22 cents. And that 22 cents, the schedule, reminder, reward worked incredibly well. And then if they missed a day, not like missed one day, but missed a scheduled workout day, then they would increase the reward by 9 cents to 31 cents. And it was highly effective in getting people to go back in after missing a day. They said people miss 2 scheduled workouts, it gets even harder, but they said it worked really well. The other thing they did was to say that they kept making this point that everyone is doing it. They said that seemed to get people motivated to go back to the gym as well. Everybody's doing it, and so should you. I hope my zone is listening, right? Because there's something here. I don't know. There's something here for their product roadmap to build in where you might be able to just opt in to giving a little financial reward for completing the workout. I'll throw this in too. On June 16th will be the 2000th consecutive day that I've exercised. And I started that journey to try to figure out what our customers have to overcome, the kinds of things they have to overcome, because a heavy travel schedule, and so it'll be 2,000 consecutive days. And I'll tell you that pre-planning is everything to maintain an exercise habit. I think that's the number one thing. I'll hand it off to you guys.
I also think it's a little bit of peer pressure. Like when
All that up. Yep.
Yeah, when other people, when you're in a group and everybody seems to be doing it, you got to belong.
Yes, they actually talk about that in this, Sarah, that the social part of it was a huge part of getting people to go back. Yes.
Yeah, so Blair, related to the study, it's part gamification and it's part reminders and it's part, a little bit of a financial incentive, but 22 cents, that's not really probably motivating the behavior. Of those, which part of that do you think really had the biggest impact?
Scheduling and reminding.
Okay.
Oh, they said there's a little gamesmanship in getting the 22 cents. It wasn't like you get a bunch of money, but they did say it
Right.
had a real impact, a measurable impact to get the 22 cents, right?
Okay.
I downloaded an app this morning called Upsell, and it tells you, go gas up at these gas stations and you get 22 cents back, or 15 cents or 25 cents back for every gallon. You don't buy the app or anything. People just get to advertise on there.
Yeah.
And that has me motivated to go there, but that was just a small incentive. There might be something for us to pay attention to there.
Okay. All right. On this same subject of sort of developing habits, Michelle Seeger, who's on the IHRSA medical advisory staff, Bill, you and Blair have known of her for sure. Her first book, which was great, was called No Sweat. And she just released her latest book called The Joy Choice. It's a great book about setting up habits and what are our temptations, what are our shortfalls related to healthy eating and being more physically active specifically. So if you're interested in this subject at all, not just even for yourself, but for your members, you might think about that. And there's one person that's on roundtable number 2 with Blair, Bill, and myself, our good friend Rick up in Pennsylvania. And every new member that joins his club as part of the onboarding process, he gives them the book Atomic Habits to help get them started and understand the basis of habit change. So there's a lot of good things out there.
Yeah, that's great. I like that. Very good.
Bill, I believe you're next with the Army fitness test.
Awesome. All right. I want to talk a little bit about this. This is a change in the Army fitness test. They call it the Army Combat Fitness Test. And this was another great article about how things have evolved. So what they're doing, effective October 1, the Army is changing the age and gender neutrality component. So they're not making age and gender neutral anymore. They're putting age and gender into certain bands. And the test is going to have, they didn't change a lot about the format of the test. They just changed some of the scoring with regard to these bands. Deadlift, leg chucks or planks, medicine ball throws, release hand push-ups or hand release push-ups, sprint, drag exercises, and carry, and then a 2-mile run. So those 6 things are part of the test. And the goal is for this to reduce injury and be realistic about what it takes for soldiers to fight in the 21st century. We were holding certain soldiers in the older groups and certain genders that couldn't do some of the same physical components to the same standard when it really wasn't necessary based on how modern warfare is conducted. So now the new test creates a more ready workforce, and it's less prone to injury, and it's more of an assessment than a judgment. So they do a diagnostic test, and then you train for 6 months for the actual test of record. So they really rethought this in a really logical and practical way to make it more contemporary, more useful, more beneficial, and less arbitrary for causing injuries and excluding people that can do the job better than others, at least as well as others. So I'm encouraged by it. Again, another way that a government agency is rethinking the reality of fitness and how it should be looked at versus just one size fits all. And I'll open it up to my peers.
Well, yeah, one of the things they've done, Bill, hearing what you described, what the test has become, and if everybody quite, follow along with you. What it really is, it's functional training sort of, right?
Yeah.
They've looked at the job to be done, and then they've tried to determine what are some tests to help equivocate if people can actually do that job. And you're not really doing crunches and sit-ups and somebody holding your feet and doing sit-ups with your hands behind your head. You're not going to be doing that. So it's really taking this concept of functional training and moving it to the testing protocol for the military.
Yeah.
And it's
If you're a 50-year-old command sergeant major, you're not going to be able to do some of the things that a 20-year-old new recruit's going to be able to do. But your skills and talent are more needed than ever. So I'm sorry, Sarah, you were about to say something.
No, I was going to say, look at the way the world is. You need technology. This is just a reality. Half of war, if not even more, is just based on technology. And somebody does not need to do a push-up, to operate a keyboard or a mouse. So I really liked your analysis, Bill, when you said it's an assessment, not a judgment. It's fitting that skill set with the job requirements.
Now they still, as people move in, one of the things with the military, with all the special forces, they get very precise as to what that branch of special forces does. It is a very precision tool, whether it's Navy SEAL, Army Ranger, Air Force JTAC, it is very precise. And then they ramp up that test, right? The testing and the requirements, physical requirements, as you move into those, become off the charts.
Yeah,
And
if you're going to be on a, they don't call it Delta Force anymore. They've got another name for it. But if you're going to be on Delta, if you're going to be on 5th Group, 7th Group, any of the Special Forces teams that are like Navy SEAL teams, you're going to have a higher level of physical requirement for those job-specific functions. But when we talk about the general Army, general baseline is what we're talking about here with the Army Combat Fitness Test.
Yep. But there has to be a different level of readiness for all those that are in those special forces that says, if combat's going to happen, you're in, right? You're going. And my son is just finishing through special forces training right now in the Air Force. So this is really, really top of mind for me right now. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah. Did you train with him, Blair?
I got him to start training when he was a kid, in 9th grade. He'd get up. I said, I won't wake you up in the morning. I'm up at 4:30. We go to the gym at 5. He'd get himself up, couldn't bench press, 90 pounds. And that kid just, blows me out of the water. I mean, he is so ridiculously fit and takes it, to the next degree. Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. That's awesome.
Hence the poster, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The poster behind Blair, if y'all haven't noticed it, it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's the Workout Anytime's conference. They did a great job at their conference, by the way. Yeah,
they do some good things over there. All right, we're going to segue onto town halls. Not a new topic, but Entrepreneur Magazine highlighted this particular concept of these town halls. At least that's what they call them. So it's one type of meeting that should be on every company's monthly agenda. And as you kind of read through the article at Entrepreneur Magazine, what I believe they're really describing more so is what most of us in the business would call an all-hands staff meeting, where you get all the employees together and have a staff meeting. They're sort of interchanging the word all staff meeting with town hall meeting. And in my concept or understanding, I think those are kind of two different things. So I'm going to break them apart first and share some information with you, and then I'll let the team weigh in on what I'm sharing. But first, the all hands meeting first. Is something that many clubs, including my own, did, for many, many years. I think they're extremely valuable, usually done like once a quarter. This is sort of the recipe for success that I've adopted over the years and shared with a lot of clients and clubs on a consulting basis and otherwise, also at the IHRSA Institute and presentations and so on. And this list is not really something I create on my own. The real originating source of this information is the book Nuts, about Southwest Airlines and how they created the company spirit that they've become so famous for. So Herb Kelleher, the founder, said anytime he would have these all hands meetings of Southwest Airlines employees, it would include each of these bullet points. So I won't go into each of these because we don't have time to do it all, but I'll just pick out a couple. One would be the last statement, do it right. When you're getting employees together, think of it like they are what they are, which is your most valuable asset. So I remember early on in my career, we'd have these member parties and we'd have, the greatest catering and a lot of time spent on decoration and the way it was presented and really nice drinks. And then, when we had the staff meeting, we'd have cheapo hamburgers and potato chips. And a couple of staff members said, "Hey, how come we get treated like second-class citizens?" And they were joking a little bit at the time, but the point was made nevertheless. So do it right all the way around. Make these meetings really something that you give your full attention to make them come off right. And follow this recipe, which we can put in the chat and you can take it with you. Now, the second one is the town hall meetings. And again, this is a list of considerations for effective town hall meetings, not only from Entrepreneur Magazine, but also I threw in a couple others based on my own experience. Most recently, as Sara pointed out, I stepped in as the interim CEO of IHRSA right during the pandemic, which my timing was impeccable, if you want to call it that. But one of the best things I think we did as an organization early on was have town hall meetings. The association was, in dire straits financially and not in a good position with all of our members that were vendors and manufacturers, and also with our club operators that were members of IHRSA as well. And so having these town hall meetings to basically tell them three things. Hey, where have we been as an association? Where are we now? And then where does the future look like? Where are we going to be going forward? And giving an opportunity to share that information with them through these town halls. And of course, it was during the pandemic, so we did them via Zoom, but we had great attendance. We had a great response. I think they were highly effective. There are many club operators out there now that are doing town halls with their customers, their members as well, particularly if they're opening a new club, going through a major renovation, if there's some significant events going on and your members are all having those conversations in the locker rooms and in the hallways. It's a great idea to have a town hall meeting and invite them and of course, allow the opportunity for them to ask questions after whatever the presentation is that you've given. So I've gone on long enough probably with that. Blair, I know either you or some of our buddies have done these town hall meetings as well.
Yeah, Jim Zuppel, Five Bridges Fitness in, where is he? Pennsylvania, Five Bridges
Right.
in Camp Hill. He started them in the pandemic just to keep people informed, and he would do Facebook Live. And he said, I'm just going to keep doing them. It's been so engaging for members, and it's not always the same people that he gets. And he's best. One of the points that you made there was give the good news and the bad news, just be transparent, be candid. And we know Jimmy's really good at that. And so it's something that he just kept going. And especially when he said, if you remember, he started to close on Sundays. And then he decided, even after the lockdown, he said, we're going to stay closed on Sundays. And he addressed it in his, people said, I want you open on Sundays. And he just addressed it in his town hall. And I think people were very appreciative of that approach.
Yeah, I had forgotten that was an outcome of that. Yeah, you're right. Well
Yeah.
done. Sara?
I think it's also interesting that we started these town halls when they were really easy because you do it on Zoom, you throw out a link and you can connect with all these people. And if you choose, you can keep doing it on Zoom because more people will be able to engage. But what a wonderful thing to have a live town hall where you can see everybody's, I want to see your smiling face.
Yeah.
So I think it's a fantastic idea.
Yeah. And hopefully people that are attending start sending stuff out on their own social media too, right? So.
Absolutely.
I really wanted this topic of recovery. And we're seeing more and more clubs putting in a lot of recovery, whether it's, massage chairs or stretch tables. Some brands are putting in just rows of stretch tables in that. And then I started to dig in a little bit. I spoke with EK from Regimen Fitness and Edward Navin from Regimen Fitness, who is starting a franchise in the recovery space called The Covery. And I started to learn more and more about kind of a different approach, not a different approach, but an exploding space in recovery that I think our industry needs to be aware of. And it's the IV drips, it's the hyperbaric, it's the red light, it's cryo, it's, probably, some crossover into medical aesthetics with cool sculpting or whatever the new technology is there. But these spaces are like 1,500 to 2,500 square feet. There's about a dozen of these franchises out there, and we'll put in a link to an article in Franchise Times. It's about a 20-page article. They go in depth on how these things are doing, and it's exploding. EK made the point to me. He said, in 3 years, it's going to look like boutique fitness. It's growing that fast. One group. One is Upgrade Labs, Restore Hyper Wellness just raised $150 million on a $500 million valuation from Atlantic General Partners, and they are poised to just grow. They're opening a new location every 3 to 4 days. EK opened his first one next to one of his clubs, one of his regimen, with the idea thinking that, okay, people that are going in for fitness are going to come in here. He said it was quite the opposite. You had a lot of people come in that just would do the IVs and start to feel a lot better, and then get them over to the gym. So I'm wondering what you guys are seeing on this. I'm getting very enticed to be in this space right now.
Well, I really am interested in this because we just had our Florida Mania conference, and at the last couple of conferences, we always do a niche market panel. And it was fascinating because I'm still thinking, oh, it's yoga, it's yoga, it's yoga. Do you know that at Rancho La Porta, the #1 class is a stretching class? And then I started looking at all these stretch labs that are popping up everywhere based on obvious recovery. But it's not, it broadens the base of the individual that can participate. Like my husband goes to hot yoga with me, and I think he just goes because he wants to see the chicks in Aspen, okay? But he goes with me. But I think he's far more comfortable at going to a stretch class, and that's what's happening at Rancho La Porta. Their stretch class is so big, they have to have an extra room that's just like zooming the class that's going on in the room next door. But the yoga classes seem to be dwindling. So I think these simple stretch programs, and also sometimes, I hate to say it, but the lazy man's recovery, which is, okay, lay there and get a massage, and not that they're not valuable, but it's more approachable. It's a way to begin.
That's one of the things that, go ahead, Brent.
Yeah, I was just going to say, one of my most recent roundtable, we had a big discussion on this, and something came out of it that I thought I found really interesting. See what you guys think. Many clubs have stepped off into the recovery space. Hydro massage chairs, in-body chairs, different things, relaxation, meditation, maybe some compression boots, the Theragun services.
Human touch.
They're kind of either adding it on as a add-on to a membership or trying to upsell it. And in our conversations around the roundtable, the point was made, if you really want to do it right, you really need to keep it separate. Get a franchise that does that, and you can still cross refer. But clubs that have tried to do recovery and have done really well, I mean, they're financially successful with it, are far and few between, at least from what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
But the franchises are doing really well. So rather than trying to think how I'm going to build it in my club, maybe you should do a franchise and have a partnership.
And so I want to make a point about that, because I think this is a great franchise model, because it solves some really complex problems that they can scale that would be very expensive for you to solve yourself.
Yes.
A lot of it has to do with having a medical director for some IV drips and hiring RNs and stuff. So these guys are solving complex problems that are going to be expensive up front, but there's a huge demand for it out there, and it's super easy. Here's what I mean. It's super easy for the customer.
And I like the way you phrased it, Brent, that get a partnership going. If you're going to do some type of boutique or niche market facility, get a partnership going with your club.
Yeah. Well, right. I'd like to jump in here. A lot of times we talk about medical referrals being from doctors. Again, this opens up the door with physical therapy practices. This recovery piece fits right between us and physical therapy. And this is another way you broaden that relationship of continuum of care, if you will. And you got human touch chairs. I think that's what you're referring to.
Yeah,
Brent,
thanks, Ben.
embodies the scale and body composition assessment. And you also have you've got Theragun now, or Therabody as the company, putting infrared on some of their devices, and they're branching into infrared along with their percussion. And so you're going to see a lot of the providers on the supplier side having multiple solutions in this space as well. And so, be thinking, don't always recreate the wheel yourself. Look
Right.
at others to do it through what franchising, but also tap into that physical therapy group.
Yeah, that's a great segue to the next topic, your drug of choice. And I know you're going to have another video, a great one,
I
Sara.
know, I get so enthusiastic. This is one of my favorite, absolutely.
Well, hello, I'm Dr. Ed Laskowski of the Department of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation, and also the Division of Sports Medicine of the Department of Orthopedics at Mayo Clinic, Rochester. What if I told you that there was a drug that reduced the risk of death of breast cancer and recurrence by 50%, that lowered the risk of colon cancer by 2/3, that reduced the risk of Alzheimer's by 40%, that reduced heart disease and high blood pressure by 40%, that lowered the risk of stroke by 1/3, that lowered the risk of type 2 diabetes by 2/3. And this drug is actually, it decreases depression as effectively as Prozac or cognitive and behavioral therapy. Well, there is a drug that does all of this, and it's not actually a drug. Those are all the effects and benefits of exercise. This is voluminous evidence, evidence-based medicine for all of these beneficial effects of exercise.
And this doctor is so cool. So I went to the Mayo Clinic to get, it's called an executive checkup. It's basically my gynecologist retired, my dermatologist retired, my GP is probably as old as I am and going to retire tomorrow. And I had, who do you go to? So I thought, well, Mayo does this really cool thing. So I thought I'd go. And he was the orthopedist that I saw because I've got a horribly curved spine and the knees and all this other stuff. Amazing man. And I love this video. It's a full 45-minute video, and I'll make sure that we put that also in the recording so you guys can have it. And we even created this video, not just horizontally for you, but we created it vertically so you can post it on your sites and make sure people can open it on your phone. And you'll notice that we put the words in there so that a lot of people like open their videos or, Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn on their phones and it's on silent. So I wanted people to read this. This is possibly the most powerful explanation of why exercise is medicine and just so moving. And you guys should take it. You need to take it. You need to post it. You need to put in the comments sections, you need to put your websites, your Facebook pages, and make sure that clients understand how valuable this is. Because if we continue to do this, we look at what happened in the pandemic, 80% of the people that died from COVID were obese, 80%, and this is such a wonderful resource. So I'll make sure we put that in.
Yeah, thanks for that video, Sara. That is an awesome video. I've already used it.
I made these guys. I said, don't you dare post it anywhere, or I'm using the mom voice. Don't you post it anywhere, or I will come after you until after Talks and Takes.
Well, hopefully everybody will take that link and post it. I've already sent it to our general manager to get it posted out on Facebook. So hopefully we'll get that out there. It's interesting, like our topics, how they've kind of have woven together here. A lot of it is about entering this space, making things easier. Talking about the recovery, exercise as medicine, there's a huge theme going on out there. I hope that we are able to tap into it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just
amen to that,
posted
Blair. And I know, at the convention, we've talked about his great keynote. Dr. Cooper spoke with some of the same language that we saw in the video. And to achieve those benefits, as Dr. Cooper pointed out, you don't have to move from being very poor to excellent. You just need to move one step up from very poor category to fair category, which is not a big step. So it's attainable for everybody that'll just get out and do a little bit of moderate exercise most days of the week. That's basically what it boils down to. And you can, Dr. Cooper shared, you can reduce deaths and risk from all cause mortality by 58% if you just make that one step up the continuum of how healthy and fit and active you are. Sorry, Sarah.
No. What I did is I put the vertical link, the vertical link in the chat box so everybody can post it all over the place. Because I think
Taylor has a question there, and I don't know this, right? How do we save this chat with all the great information and resources? Does it just go away when we're done? Or do you have to
it kind of goes away. So I would click on a link, hold on to the link, block and paste it, send it to yourself. But they can, I think Christine will put it in the.
Go to chat. There's 3 dots. Hit the 3 dots and press save.
God, it's like
We all learned something new today, Bill.
Yeah. You can go to chats and there's 3 dots and you should be able to do it. Awesome.
save chat.
You want to comment on the drug of choice video, Bill, before we move on to the next?
Yeah, I
topic?
mean, you and I have been, you've been preaching a sermon and I've been turning the pages for our career, Brent. The amount of efficacy of exercise is a minimal dose. You don't need a huge dose to get major benefits. And that 58% reduction in death by going to the next level, I mean, that's huge. And a lot of times, I hate to say it, but sometimes a lot of us in the industry joke each other, oh, that's all you did for a workout today, or workout shame you if it's not aggressive enough, and we do that among ourselves, but we have to be really careful not to body shame or workout shame people, because any movement is good movement, and any step forward is something that should be encouraged. And I think that's been the theme of this whole show, is non-judgment, basic level acceptance, getting people moving, so that's all I want to add to that.
All right. Yep. Thanks, Bill. I have a chat that says, I don't see the dots, but if you go right,
they're down at the bottom in the open chat box. If you're looking for them up at the top, they're down in the bottom in the open chat box.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right. Our last subject, what gyms are doing for Ukraine. Of course, this has been probably top of everyone's mind over the last several months, what's been going on in Ukraine, and there are health and fitness facilities in Ukraine. Here's a photo of one there that you see, the Life Sports clubs in Ukraine, and one that's been obviously decimated by the bombing. So they're really in a terrible place right now, as you've seen all the news stories. I don't need to go into the details, but just to say, we can't forget, there are clubs there that have been closed. There are also clubs that are open, that are serving as hosts to bring in the people that are displaced and give them shelter and running water and showers, restrooms, etc. And then there's a lot of people around the world that are coming up with ideas of how they can help Ukraine. I'll give you just 4 or 5 things, examples of clubs that are doing something, and you may have some others to share as well if you'd like to do that in the chat. Vita Fitness, for example, has taken donations for physical supplies. One of their personal trainers is actually from Ukraine, so they're using that as sort of a testimonial, and she can share some, personal stories of her experiences helping that effort. Chelsea Piers, Connecticut, in April had a week for peace, as they called it, a week for peace, where they raised money for the humanitarian and medical efforts in Ukraine. SC Fitness, which is one of the major club chains in Portugal, took part with another kind of national commitment there in a campaign to raise funds and gather supplies as well. And then the Westwood Clubs, which is a high-end multi-purpose group of clubs run by a good friend of ours, Alan Leach, that's in Ireland. They've been working with a refugee center in Poland, collecting supplies, household appliances, medical equipment, and those sort of things to try and help. And then IHRSA's run this article in their magazine, CBI. It's also on IHRSA.org if you'd like to go and see that. And here's some of the ways that if you're not doing something really specific, that how you can help. These are different charitable organizations and efforts that are supporting Ukraine in a number of different ways. If you'd like to get involved and just kind of been wondering, how might I do that? Here's a list of things that you might do to look into that. So for those of you that have already been doing things, either personally or professionally through your club or your associations, we sure appreciate that. And I know the Ukrainians do as well. And our hope and prayers that that will end soon, and those people will be able to recover sooner rather than later.
Who's hosting? Is it Mark? Can he take his cursor and point to those 3 dots? Somebody, whoever has the cursor,
I think it's
show where the save button is.
I don't think you can do that in the chat, but it's way down at the bottom on the right. And where does it save to, Bill?
It should be wherever you put it.
Thanks.
So we'll send out resources post-event. So
Okay.
you don't
We'll
need to
get it
save
out
it.
to-
We'll make sure.
We'll get it out to everybody.
All right.
Next.
So now we'll jump into the Q&A section. And I've got already a couple of questions that have come in on a couple of the topics. But before we do that, I thought, Bill, if you're able and willing, can you give us a little bit of recap of what's gone on already?
Yeah, in looking at this sedentary market and a lot of the people we've been talking about and how to get to those people that are less active, it also brings me back to ABC's new Ignite software, because you can sort and data source so many different segments in your marketplace with that information. So ABC, we appreciate you sponsoring Talks and Takes and all you do to support getting content out there to the industry. Also, looking back at the list of all these attendees, all of you guys are ambassadors. I know a lot of you that are on this call, and keep using all those resources that we can get from IHRSA and Sara and everyone else to promote the good word. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We talked about annual reviews. Sara hit some great points about the ineffectiveness of the traditional annual review. I was surprised to see that 86% of the respondents thought their reviews weren't accurate. That was a stunning figure to me. And if you have 22% of your people crying during the annual review, you ought to lose your job, right? I mean, that's just insane. There should be no surprises. Billions and billions of dollars are wasted. And I shared a couple of the resources I use. Hopefully you got those resources in the chat box. I talked about what the fitness industry doesn't understand. We belabored that pretty detailed. If you haven't read that article, read it, share it with your employees. It's just a fantastic perspective on the industry from the Atlantic. Sara brought us back into unretiring. And, for years, I've been wanting to hire more retirees, more senior citizens, or people that have, finished out their careers and are still active. Those people are unbelievable ambassadors for our product. They've lived the lifestyle in many cases. They want to stay engaged. And so, looking for opportunities to get people back into the workforce with us, even if it's on a part-time basis. I brought us back into the Army test. They changed it. It's more neutral. It's more of an assessment. I think we said enough about that. Then we went to workout habits. Actually, I jumped ahead a little bit, but we went to workout habits with Blair rather. No, yeah, that was Blair, right?
Yes.
Yeah, to me, Bill.
Yeah, it starts with a goal. My brother-in-law is like Blair. He's a lacrosse coach for the men's lacrosse team at West Point. And he's got your streak beat, Blair, but no matter what happens, he gets that workout in every day. It could be 4 a.m. if he's got to catch a flight or if he's going to be on the road. So it starts, I think, with a goal, having clear goals. But the way to manifest that goal is to have it in your schedule, Blair says, and to have reminders kick up. And interesting that even though there were small pennies in incentives, they worked. So that's the gamification. It's not about the dollars, it's about winning something. And so gamification also makes it fun and engaging. Then we did, after Army test, we did Brent with Town Hall. Very important. Brent brought up the 3 things you want to achieve: where we've been, where we are, where we're going. Those are critically important. When you do these town hall meetings, though, it is very important not to data dump and just have one-sided conversations, but to have some level of engagement and involvement. And then Blair brought us back to recovery. We talked about outsourcing or franchising or partnering. We talked about, Sara brought us into the importance of stretching. And I mentioned continuum of care with physical therapy, but looking at things to make recovery as big as personal training, as big as tennis, as big as, any of your other significant business units. You should be looking at all these product solutions as business units. And then we did your drug of choice. I thought this video was so powerful and impactful, and we're all going to use it. Sara, thanks for bringing that to us. Absolutely amazing. Taking the message of the doctor and Mayo Clinic and the importance of exercise. A lot of that goes back to Dr. Cooper stuff, and we've got great representation from Cooper here on the call, as well as Brent's past history with Cooper, but the resources with the Mayo Clinic and Cooper and others is great for us to use. And then what's going on in Ukraine, we all know, is just horrific and horrifying and devastating. And Brent, thanks for sharing those things. So I think that gives us a quick recap of what we covered today, and we'll make resources available.
Yep. Thanks, Bill. Nice job as usual. Let me jump right into a couple of the questions here. So first, Blair, you kind of glossed over it when we were talking about the annual reviews. Some product called Blueprint, I think is what you said you implemented. Can you just tell people what that resource is again?
Yeah, and I'm not sure just how out there they are yet, but Blueprint is a technology. It's an app. I just have it on my phone. You can, create your org chart of your people. And what we use, one of the primary aspects of Blueprint that we use is something called reflections, where we set up a few questions, and they know these are not anonymous questions. It would be, Brent, you'd get it from me, and it would say, Brent, for our upcoming meeting, answer, these. And one of the main things is, what do you want to talk about? And how can I help? Right. So, and then you get that, and then gives you the backdrop for the discussion that you're going to have, the 30-minute discussion that you're going to have. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right, Sara, the next one's for you. And the next one is, you want to comment on that? You want to add something to that first?
I kind of wanted to, I did, because
Okay.
if it's 15 minutes every week, does it need to be as formal? I almost want it to be more informal.
Yeah. Well,
what do you like? What do you not like?
Yeah. No, ours was doing once a month, not every week.
Okay.
Yeah. And whenever we can, by the way, whenever the weather's like this, it's go across the street, go to the park and take a walk. That's how we do those.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Sara. So someone's asking, they were listening to your presentations about making entry-level classes easier. You and Bill both. I'm gonna let you answer it first. The question is, what do we name or title these beginner classes that make it not come off, the wrong way? What titles have you seen work, perhaps?
Fitness starter. Of course, you use 101, like HIIT 101, Pilates 101, Bar 101. Those help. I never want to call something, I used to like the name like platinum this or golden that if I'm focusing on an older adult, but I've almost gotten away from that. Do you guys have any other suggestions?
Ours that did the best was gentle, to get people in, was gentle yoga, gentle movement. And that was specifically geared at older population, and was one of our most popular classes. Yeah.
Sorry,
Go ahead, Bill.
Go ahead, Bill.
No, I was just going to say, coming up with things that just sound unintimidating, that don't sound demeaning or less than, right? So, easy rider, mild movement, easy moves, things, these are just kind of, but it's a good thing to brainstorm with your team to come up with some creative stuff, beginner, novice, never done it before, just starting out, some of those can put people off, like, oh man, I got to get in shape to go here. Right. So, labeling them and having a clear description of what it is. So it's welcoming, sounds fun and contemporary, but makes it obvious that it's doable.
Nigel Gilbert recommends Foundations. He says has worked for him.
Foundations are a great name.
That's a great word. That's great.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Nigel. That's a good one. All right. Next question is, if we're talking about implementing this sort of annual review check-in, eliminating or altering our annual review process to have some more of these regular ongoing check-ins? Is there some staff training needed or required, or how would you handle that internally with your team to make sure they pull it off well?
I would,
Yeah.
Sarah, you want?
oh,
Bill,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
no, I was going to say, I would have everybody read 1 Minute Manager to start with. And one of the best reviews I used to get from one of my past mentors was, Bill, here's what I like. Here's what I'd like to see more of. Those two questions, and so, it's not a criticism. It's just like, I'd like you to do more of this. I'd like you to do some of that. Here's what I like. So, but the 1 Minute Manager is great for those informal check-ins, 1 minute praises, 1 minute reprimands, not in front of anybody, which is really now, you would say, 1 minute coaching opportunities. So read the 1 Minute Manager. Here's what I like. Here's what I like to see more of, or my go-tos. Go ahead, Sarah.
No, I really like that. I think that's perfect.
I'd say,
And
I'd
go
say,
ahead,
rehearse
Blair,
it.
go.
I'd say rehearse it, at least once with somebody that isn't your direct report. Just test it. It's always good to stress test your questions. It's always good to stress test what the meeting's going to be like. And you don't need to do it a bunch, and you don't need to overthink it, but it's a good idea to stress test it.
When I worked for Blair, he used to pull me aside, and well, he didn't really pull me aside. He said it in front of people and he said, "Why the hell did you do that? That's not a good thing to do." Just kidding.
Yeah, he did it privately.
Yeah.
Okay, Sarah, this is a tangential question to that, and they want to know, related to the number of direct reports, what do you think the ideal or the maximum number of direct reports a supervisor should have?
Everything I've read says 6. 6 is
Wow.
max. And I don't know what you guys think, but it kind of works for me.
Yeah, I prefer 5, but 6 is max. I agree with Sarah. I have 5. I prefer 5. Once you get past 5, in my opinion, or at least the way my small brain works, is I have trouble finding development time.
Yeah, I think most of it is 5 to 7. I think there are jobs where it can be many, many more than that. So if you are thinking about your group exercise department, because of the nature of what those jobs are, it can be more of 1 to many. It doesn't have to be 1 to 5 or
And
7.
I read a weird statistics. Do you know that with nurses, they have a manager of 1 to 60, and it's they get the more people quit from being nurses than any other profession. 1 to 60.
Okay.
Yeah, but they have a floor nurse in charge of a few of them on that shift, like an MOD kind of situation as well.
I'm sure they do, but I read this on Indeed. I thought it was pretty wild.
Wow.
That sounds insane.
Hey, that does bring up something though, that back to this idea of recovery. I'll tell you, I bet there's a lot of nurses that you could pay more than they're making at the hospital that would love to be in that kind of an environment where there's 2 of them in a 2,500 square foot upscale facility doing IVs for people that aren't coming in sick and under duress. I think that's one of the things about that model is I think employing for that model is ripe.
Yeah. Good point. All right, Sarah, let's change gears a little bit to the unretiring. Question is sort of, I think we all understand there's value and benefits, experience in the workforce. How would we know when somebody really is ready to come out of unretirement? Do you have any tips?
Well, Blair was the one who said, "Oh, they're so enthusiastic. They're just like raring to go," which I totally agree with, or they wouldn't be unretiring unless it was like kicking and screaming. I can't pay my mortgage. I can't pay, I can't afford the gas. My whatever it costs you $178 for your gas. And then I can't travel because, the food and everything is just way too expensive. But I think if we ease them into the process, because one of my concerns was that they're so used to being retired, and doing things on their own schedule and easing into things and taking a break whenever they need to, that they won't have and it might not be physical stamina I'm talking about. It might be the emotional stamina to stick it out at that 8 hours a day. So let's ease it in. Let's do a couple hours a day.
Yeah, and I bet just in the normal role of conversation with somebody, you'll get a feel for, are they going back into the workforce because they're desperate, or are they going back into the workforce because they're just freaking bored, right? I'll be the
Right.
best damn employee you've ever had.
Right,
So
right. What were you gonna say, Bill?
Well, if you have seniors or people that are hanging out at the club a long time and they're unretired or they're retired rather, just having conversations with them. A lot of times with the seniors, they want to feel needed. Like if you said, "Hey, Bob, you ever interested in helping us out here? We need some help at the desk." That kind of thing, they want to be needed. I'm talking about the senior group, they want to have purpose. They might not ever come up and say, "Hey, I'm interested in applying part-time," but if you said, "Hey, if you're ever looking to do something part-time, we could use your help." That, I would just say inviting them versus waiting for them to raise their hand.
And whenever I'm hiring somebody, the reciprocal of that is I want them to want the job. That's one of the main things. It might be financial, or it may just be social, or like Bill said, purpose driven, that they just need to have a purpose for their life. And I've encountered that several times with people, that they're just like, Mahjong is not doing it for me.
Right. Right. Okay. Another question is, we've talked quite a bit about this, exercise is medicine, and we're wanting to make our offerings appeal more to the medical community. We've had this discussion for decades, literally, but do y'all have some thoughts about how you've actually seen it working, where you're seeing this sort of movement by mainstream clubs toward the more medical side? And Bill, I know you have a vast experience in there with running a lot of medical facilities as well as standalone commercial clubs.
Yeah, I mean, Michelle Wong, I think, was on our call here. She's our COO, and she's a big driver with her team of these initiatives. But we do a basic lifestyle program with our physicians referral exercise program at our medically based sites. And it's just basically, I think a 6 or 8 week program. I'm not sure what we're doing, if we're doing the same thing across, or multiple different versions of it, but pre and post assessment, mid check-in, they go through a program, and so you don't have to boil the ocean. You can have a basic lifestyle program that gets people in general condition and deals with most people with basic, issues that most of us all have, as we age. And then those that need specialized care, your cancer fit, your rock steady, your arthritis, they feed off in more specialized programs. But most any club can do a lifestyle program, over 6, 12 weeks and make major gains with sedentary individuals on a structured basis. If you're doing the physician thing, you have to make it very simple for the physician to refer those folks. We're still working on electronic referrals in some of our locations with the medical records. Most of them are still kind of a somewhat managed process, but we use Weld for that process in the back end, which came out of the ACAC group. So WELLD, Weld. We're bullish and love working with those team members over there. And that's what we use kind of to drive some of the back end of that for ourselves. It's more of a back end function than a front end function. But just get involved in lifestyle programming and find some stuff that your community needs, off the shelf, arthritis, cancer fit, rock steady, Project Walk, whatever. Find some stuff off the shelf that your community could use for some of your specialized stuff. I will say that the general lifestyle stuff has a higher feed ratio of conversions to membership. Some of the more specialized stuff is a loss leader. You might lose money on some of those medical wellness programs because they're staff intensive, and you'll probably try to price them appropriately for the community so people that are in need can do it. So sometimes you might not make any money on some of the highly specialized stuff, but you're doing a great service and you're getting great, results for people and brand recognition and credibility. The lifestyle stuff, you usually can convert into a high membership conversion rate.
All right, thanks, Bill. So we're running up against our time here. And before we close, I just want to make 2 comments. One, again, Bill, thanks for recognizing ABC Fitness Solutions and their Ignite program. ABC's been sponsoring this now since we started almost 2 years ago. So we appreciate that so much. If you don't have the IHRSA Convention and Trade Show in Miami on your calendar, it's not too late. You can still get a hotel room. You can still get registered. All of us will be there. We sure would like to see you there as well. So thanks for joining us. I hope you join us again next month. Have a great start to the summer, and we appreciate you tuning in today.
Thanks.
Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Bye all.
See you in Miami.
In Miami.
Yes.